This man is the most criminal and thief in the entire world, and that's why he managed to steal $17 million so easily. But the police arrest him, and he enters the prison. There, all the criminals respect him, and deal with him as a big brother. Then we know his name is David, and he starts telling his story. David is a shy person, and has an obsessive-compulsive disorder that makes him arrange anything. As soon as he works in the bank, he is focused on the safe. In due time, he steals the bank's safe and unlocks it. Then, he takes all the money in it, which was $17 million. After that, he puts them on a moving cart to take them and run away. But because of his obsessive-compulsive disorder, he arranges the dollars inside the car. Meanwhile, his girlfriend Kelly is outside, and orders him to take the money quickly. She then tells him that it's not the time to do this at all, and they must move quickly. So, he puts them in the car. But he is so tired because there are a lot of dollars. At the time, one of his co-workers suddenly comes back. David puts his hand on the gun and is about to kill him, but the man tells him that he works overtime and he will go now. Then, David completes his theft, and he takes 2 hours to steal all the money. After that, he breaks all the cameras in the bank, and goes out to celebrate his theft. But he doesn't know that there is a camera is still there, and it records everything. Meanwhile, the door doesn't open because of all the money in the car. He is still trying to open it, but he can't. Then, he enters to arrange some money, but the door is closed while he is inside. He then tries to get out of the window, but he can't because he is overweight. Quickly, he makes a column of dollars, and presses it into the fuel to drive the car. Then, he manages to break the bank's wall and escape. Outside, 4 of his partners are waiting for him. They then take the money and prepare papers for David to escape to Mexico. He hides $20,000 in his pants, and it changes his shape. Then says goodbye to his girlfriend Kelly, and tells her that he'll never be shy again. When he goes to the airport, they doubt him because of his shape, but they think that he is just a deviant and leave them. Once he gets off the plane, he stays in a 5-star hotel, and lives a luxurious life. After a while, he misses her girlfriend Kelly. So, he calls her to come to Mexico as she promised him, but she is lying to him, and she asks him to wait a few more days. Unfortunately, he believes her, but all his colleagues are disloyal to him, and Kelly is the first one who cheats on him. On top of that, they tell the police about the place where David is staying. While they are looking for him in the hotel, he is aimlessly walking. Suddenly, he sees his photo and knows that the police search for him, but he runs and manages to escape from them. He then calls Kelly to get his money, but she is still lying and cheats on him. Kelly and her partner decide to kill David, and they hire a professional killer to kill him. He is so an evil man and all the people fear of him. The killer then travels to Mexico and keeps watching David. He prepares his gun to kill him, but the gun explodes, and the killer falls on the old people under the building. Meanwhile, he walks toward David, but he doesn't kill him, and makes David run away to enjoy himself by killing him. David holds a moving car to run away faster, but the car suddenly stops, and the killer throws a spear at him. Fortunately, the spear shoots into an iron pole that falls on people in the street, and David escapes from the killer. At that time, he calls Kelly to ask her to save him from everything that happened to him, but she is forced to tell him the truth. She tells him that they hire a killer to kill him, and that they took all the money for them. Then, Kelly tells David that she loves him, but their partner Steve is controlling her and forcing her to do that. After David knows the truth, he is shocked, and doesn't know what to do. Even he sits sadly on the road eating. But suddenly, the killer shows up, and hits David with a bigger pan. The killer then ties him up and puts him in a bathtub. Meanwhile, the killer is unscrewing the water pipe to draw him into the bathtub. David offers him that he'll give him double the money to let him go, but the killer finds in his wallet only $30, and asks him how he could give him double the money. He then holds his knife and is still threatening David. The killer has a strange habit. He used to check the ID of people who will kill him, but when he looks at David's ID, he is shocked because he finds that their names are the same. They have the same name, the same date of birth, and were born in the same hospital. Meanwhile, the killer knows that this is a message from the God. The killer then cries because he thinks that David is his twin, but from a different parent. And they are brothers in life because they were born at the same time, and in the same place. They continue talking on the beach, and playing in the sea together. And when the killer walks, he gives David $50,000, then says goodbye to him, and walks away. The next day, David wakes up, and he decides to take revenge on his partner Steve, who cheated him. David threatens him, if he doesn't come back 6 million, he'll report the police. But Steve agrees to give David the money. On that day, David goes to the bank, and every time he asks if the money was transferred to his account or not. He is still asking the bank for 3 days, then calls Steve and threatens him again. But Steve kidnaps Kelly and threatens David that he'll kill her if he doesn't go to an island in Africa and commits suicide there. Because David loves Kelly, he buys a ticket to Africa to save her. But when he is at the airport, the police know his real ID and is going to arrest him. At that time, David sees the killer who was going to kill him, and knows from him that he is going back to America to kill David's girlfriend Kelly. But David asks him not to kill his love. When the killer knows that, he decides that he won't kill her, and they exchange tickets. The killer goes to Africa, and David goes to America to save Kelly. They then beat the police together until they escape from them and board their planes. On the plane, he thinks about everything he had done, and how he became a stupid thief. How he stole $17 million, and only took $20,000 of them. And now, his partner Steve kidnaps Kelly, so he decides to take revenge on Steve. David goes to Steve, and finds that he has a villa, and very luxurious cars. David is standing from afar watching him. By the way, Steve has a party at his house, and invites very rich people. So, David wears a luxurious suit, and combs his hair like the rich. Then enters the party. David goes down to the basement, and finds that the money was in barrels inside this basement. Then, he enters the party with a gun hidden in his trousers, and knows where Kelly is. David walks slowly beside one of the goons, and ties his whole body. He then saves his girlfriend, and they leave the party. David is about to shoot the gun at Steve, but the gun fires at a gas tube and explodes. Meanwhile, they find that one of the guests is wearing a microphone, and that he is almost from the police. David then steals the luxurious car of Steve, and makes Kelly hold a Molotov, then throws it on another car. David drives so quickly to break the iron door and flee, but the door isn't broken. At that time, Steve runs after them, and catches David. Meanwhile, the FBI becomes in all the place, and it's clear that the police are coming, because they doubt Steve's richness. Also, they are looking for evidence against him, to show how he suddenly becomes so rich. Then, David tells Steve that everything is planned by him, but Steve insults him, and tells him that he is stupid, then admits that he was the one who planned everything, and without Steve's plan, they couldn't steal anything. Meantime, the FBI record everything Steve says. They then attack and arrest all the people. Steve is judged by 25 years in prison, but David and Kelly are judged by 7 years only. After that, they promise each other that they'll marry each other when they get out of prison. We then back to the first scene, when David enters the prison. He finds that the prison is full of dangerous criminals, but David isn't afraid of them. In this time, all the prisoners respect and cheer him, because he stole this large amount of money. So, he is the strongest thief in the entire world, and they see him as a role model for them. After David gets out of prison, he finds the killer waiting for him at the prison door. The killer styled his hair like David's, and lets him drive the car. Together, they welcome his girlfriend when she leaves the prison. But during their imprisonment, the police still are searching for $2 million from all stolen money, and they still don't know where they are. In fact, when David got into the basement of the party, he took one of the barrels of money, and threw it at the bottom of the sea, to live from it when he gets out of prison with Kelly. David then takes $2 million of the money and marries his girlfriend, and they live happily ever after. And although he is a coward and shy, he took the chances he met. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you in the next video.
All this money, money.